Have you found yourself in a situation where you impulsively texted someone because you had become emotionally dysregulated? Or have you been on the receiving end of someone texting you impulsively because they are emotionally dysregulated? Stay tuned, because in this video, we are going to go over some steps to handle the desire to text during stages of emotional dysregulation. This includes the need to text obsessively over and over and the need to text hurtful things. So there's a lot of pros with technology. Gone are the days where we actually had to handwrite our papers in school. I know I'm telling my age a little bit, but now we can actually get our news instantly versus waiting for the paper to print every morning. There's a lot of benefits to technology these days. Even texting is a benefit of technology. We don't have to wait to send someone a message when they are available to answer a phone. We can send it at any time, and then they have as much time as they need to send a message back. But with all good things, there's also bad things. And one con of technology is the ability to impulsively text when you are emotionally dysregulated as a borderline. So what does this even look like? Well, it can look like texting your partner obsessively or saying mean and hurtful things through text. Impulsivity is actually one of the 9 criteria to get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So you may find that it's common with those with BPD to impulsively text. But why? Why does someone text 100 times back to back or say some of the most off-the-wall hurtful things to someone they love? Well, the borderline may be experiencing intense emotions over something that was said or done to them. Or maybe a fear of abandonment is creeping over them. Or sometimes the borderline may be trying to seek reassurance or validation from a partner. Any of these things could cause emotional dysregulation in a borderline. So what are the after effects of this impulsive behavior? Well, sometimes there's actually a sense of relief for the borderline, because if they were texting obsessively because they needed reassurance or validation from a partner and the partner gave it to them, it may make them feel good. And sometimes there's actually a sense of shame or guilt afterwards. Some really mean, cutthroat things can be said when a borderline is discombobulated. And with these texts, they're in print forever, and they may have to face for the things that have been written. Now, in the moment, for a borderline, it may feel perfectly just to say the hurtful things, but then once everything's settled, emotions are back to being regulated, a borderline may feel shame or guilt or even remorse for how they acted. So, what are some ways to improve the desire to impulsively text someone while being emotionally dysregulated? Well, the very first thing is to slow down. I cannot stress this enough, and this tip works for a lot of reactions when becoming emotionally dysregulated as a borderline. Slow down and actually read what someone is writing you. If you receive a text that makes you want to obsessively text or write a paragraph of mean and harsh words, let's say, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say you had plans with someone to go out and they text you and say, hey, I gotta work late at work tonight, I'm not gonna be able to make it. This may trigger you as a borderline, okay? It can bring up that fear of abandonment, like, oh, they don't want to spend time with me. Oh, they're just making an excuse, they're lying, go figure, they cancel last minute. As a borderline, you may take it personal that this person is unable to hang out with you because some obligation came up. Now, in the moment, you may want to text them over and over because they decided to do something with their time versus spending time with you. Or maybe you feel like texting them things that are criticizing. Now, in order for this to work, you have to take the person's word, okay? No matter what they've done in the past, you have to believe what they say is true. So just step away from the phone for a moment. If you need to get distracted to get your mind off of it, go do something to distract yourself. Obsessive, ruminating thoughts can send you down a rabbit hole where you text the most outlandish things and impulsively hit send before you even comprehend what you're sending. Sometimes when I find myself in this situation where I know I'm about to go off because I am upset at what the person has told me, I go outside and I sit and I close my eyes and I just listen to the birds. Sometimes I get in the shower with no noise, no music, just me in the shower. Sometimes I go wash dishes. I get to doing something, anything. Now, I like the shower because it allows me time to think and I'm away from my phone because you can't really bring the phone in the shower. It helps you to actually read and understand what the other person is saying instead of rushing right in with a response. Now, there's no law on the time limit it takes you to respond to someone. And if someone is in your life and understands and supports you, they will understand that you need time to process things. And it may be a little longer than the average person. But if you are supported, then you can work through that impulsivity. So doing things like taking a shower lets you really comprehend what the other person is saying, and it allows you to get those initial thoughts out of the way. You can think them all you want, but just observe them. Do not use them as fuel for a reaction. Okay, so let's go back to the example that someone was supposed to hang out with you, but then they texted because they have to stay late at work and they'll be unable to hang out with you. What if what they said is true? Isn't it nice that they let you know in advance so that you weren't getting ready or blocking off your time for someone just to be a no-show? Now that they let you know, you are free to fill up your time with something else that you enjoy. Look at it in a positive light. At least they respected you enough to let you know instead of standing you up. When you reply back, you can let them know that even though you are disappointed because you really did want to spend time with them, you appreciate that they let you know. Do you see how that response is simple and straight to the point, yet conveys your feelings? Impulsive texting is something that would happen to me a lot, okay? Especially with my favorite person. I had to make slowing down a habit and then turn that habit into a system. So I do this, and this whenever I'm triggered by someone via text, okay? Now, with all habits, it does take some time to get under control, but once you do it enough times, it will become second nature. The very first thing you have to do is realize that you do, in fact, impulsively text, okay, with certain people or in certain situations, and accept it. It's like AA, okay? The first step is admitting that you have the problem. You have to acknowledge it so that it can be fixed. So accept that sometimes you can be quite obsessive and text a lot, or accept that sometimes you can text paragraphs of cutthroat things over seemingly nothing. After you accept it, come up with a battle plan on what steps you intend to do if this situation occurs. It is so important to have a plan. You know, that's why when we were kids, we practiced fire drills at school. If everyone knows the plan, when something happens, then you can execute it. But if there's no plan, then you are more likely to spend excess energy trying to solve the issue. So come up with a plan. What exactly are you going to do if someone texts you something that emotionally triggers you? Are you going to go outside? Are you going to take a shower? Maybe you're at work and you're just going to sit your phone down and focus on work for a while until you can come back to the message with an appropriate reply. After you feel calmed down by whatever activity you distracted yourself with, check in with yourself. How do you feel? How can you look at this situation in a positive light? Write out how you feel before you hit send. Take another break from the message and come back and read it before sending. Is your message coming from a place of understanding and comprehension and love for the other person? Are you taking in account the other person's point of view? Are you coming from a state of dysregulation? Think about the big picture. What are they thinking? How are they feeling? Slow down and regulate emotions and then respond. By doing this, you stay in control of yourself and your emotions. And before hitting send, always think to yourself, is this how I want to represent myself to the world? First drafts of messages can carry a lot of emotions in them. I sometimes ask myself, would I want someone at work to read this or my grandma? You will find the more you step away, the less emotionally charged things will be, and you can edit your first draft to be less emotional. You can keep coming back to it as many times as you need until you get that final response where you are not allowing your emotions to control you. Now, this may take some time, but I promise if you just slow down and revisit it, it will help you on impulsively texting things you do not mean. I put out videos every Sunday about borderline personality disorder. It is my goal that I spread awareness of this disorder so that others can get the tools that they need to lead a prosperous life. Now, you don't have to like, subscribe, you don't even have to comment on my channel, as I will be here no matter what every single Sunday. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, Little Buttercups. Until then, mwah.